Introducing the all-new NETGEAR M4250 series AV line switches, engineered and designed from the ground up to exceed the increasing demands of AV professionals. Featuring all ports on the back with status lights on the front and a range of sizes. Starting as low as 8 ports and a variety of PoE options for up to 90 watts per port, the M4250 series supports any 1 gigabit AV over IP deployment. Pre-configured for out-of-the-box functionality, these switches can be up and running with little to no configuration. When more configuration is required, a dedicated web-based GUI specifically created for AV professionals is available. Software-controlled fan adjustments enable the fans to be turned off when ambient temperature and PoE loads are appropriate for a totally fanless and acoustic-friendly operation. Mounting flexibility is crucial. Along with reverse rack mounting, threaded holes on the chassis allow for universal mounting options outside the rack as well. The new NETGEAR M4250 series AV line switches are here.
Hello everybody, how's everyone in the chat doing here today? Welcome to the virtual event series. We got a special show for you here today, talking about our new switches built specifically for Pro AV. If this is your first time here on the show, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So I'm Angelo, I'm the Senior Interactive Media Specialist here at NETGEAR. I manage this NETGEAR YouTube channel, the Night Harper Gaming Twitch channel, and really if you follow any of our social accounts like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, there's probably a chance that I had my hand on whatever you saw on your feed. But before I go ahead and introduce the event series and what we're going to be talking about today, I would like to go ahead and reach out to my guest here on the show. John, you're essentially almost a veteran here at this point. I'd like to hand it off to you.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here once again, and I'm excited to talk about our new products. So I handle the Pro AV product marketing for NETGEAR. I'm an AV guy, started with NETGEAR almost a year ago. So I bring a lot of the AV experience to the talented Laurent Masia's IT experience and AV over IP stuff.
Awesome. Laurent.
Thank you.
You're new to the show. We'd love to hear your introduction. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you very much. So yeah, that's actually a first for me. I mean, despite my 15 years in NETGEAR, can you believe it? So I'm Laurent. I'm the Director of Product Management for the Managed Switches, and I'm really happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, before we actually take a deep dive into these switches, again, I want to remind you guys, this is an interactive show. We do see some regulars here in the chat, and I would just love to shout you guys out there. Remember, today we will be talking about Pro AV, and specifically the new NETGEAR M4250 switch series, designed specifically for Pro AV. So if you guys do have any questions outside of that kind of Pro AV realm, we do have a tech support live stream every Friday here. So you guys could go get your tech support questions and also just kind of hang out here with the team. But if you guys are interested in Pro AV, you guys are in the right place. So the reason why we're kind of doing this virtual event series, as you guys might know, we've been shelter in place for, oh man, now I can't even say few months anymore, it's 6 months. So we actually started this, wow, a bunch of months ago now. And unfortunately, we're not able to do a lot of these trade shows. And wow, back I used to say a lot of the summer trade shows, but now just trade shows for about half the year we haven't been able to do. So this is what the virtual event series is about. Typically, at a trade show or convention, you know, you gotta get your event ticket, you gotta get your hotel, and you know that's kind of your opportunity to network with these vendors, come up to their booths and learn more about their products in real time, ask your questions, get a demo. So unfortunately, we're not able to meet you guys in person. One day we would love to. One day I know we'll be back and we're gonna be meeting you guys in person. But in the meantime, this is something that we're doing every week, and we hope that you guys find value in what we have to talk about today. Again, this is live, this is interactive. I will shout out Tiptoe Turtle. Thank you for coming back here. If you guys watched last Friday's stream, we actually gave away a few shirts. Just know I'm still working on your shirts and gotta drive to the office to ship it over. So congrats to all of our winners for joining the, or essentially winning the shirts last week. on our giveaway stream, and we hope that this is something that you guys could find valuable here today. But let's start talking about it. M4250 and Pro AV. John and Laurent, how is this a game changer for NETGEAR, and how does this kind of pave that path for Pro AV and NETGEAR's dedication to that?
At you, Laurent. It's been Laurent's vision for years. I'll let him answer that question, Angelo.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, actually, it started even before. You may know that we at NETGEAR started to be very active in the AV world, being a founding member of an alliance called SDVOE, all about 10G, not the topic today. But from day one, we understood that, well, it was hard for us, because multicast and AV networking is not that easy. So it took time for us to accommodate and understand the technology. Then we did, but then we realized that it was even more of a challenge for the AV installers, right? Because all these networking terms and complex techniques were not facilitating much the transition to IP. So we understood many years ago that something was wrong. It was on our side, the IT side. So we started to discuss, understand the challenges. And after many, many discussions, that's why 1.5 years ago, we got a vision. And here we are today.
Awesome.
And that actually is a good tee up for maybe Richard's video, right? To kind of tell us, really articulate why we did the 4250.
Awesome. Yeah. So to all our viewers out there, this is a virtual event. So we have a virtual trade show booth. This one's actually a little bit different this time. So we actually got our team. Laurent, you're over. We're live here, coming from United States to Paris. So I know you guys filmed this over there, and we'd love to go ahead and show our viewers that. So let me pull that up right now.
NETGEAR introduces a new innovative line of switches developed and engineered for Pro AV called AV Line M4250 switches. You know that NETGEAR is the leading provider of networking products that power businesses both large and small. This announcement is about the addition of an entirely new series of switches designed and built for the growing audio, video over IP, say AV over IP market. Dubbed the AV line, these products combine years of networking expertise with best practices from leading experts in the professional AV market. Codecs for transporting AV signal over a network are generally identified based.
Welcome. Today we have exciting news. We're introducing an AV line of Ethernet switches. Why do we need this? Well, because the AV world is different from the IT world. And we've been serving the IT world for 20 years. It's just different for AV when it comes to the way a product is set up. An AV product typically sits in a rack with the cables to the back and the indicators, the LEDs in the front. While in the IT world, everything sits on the front because it's made for a data center. So we're thinking about the needs of an AV engineer, and we think about the way the product is designed. We also think about the way the software is designed. And a couple of examples there are the settings that you need to do for a network. There's a lot there, right? IGMP, multicast, there is VLAN tagging, PTP, MDNS bonjour, and so on. And as an AV engineer, that's not your specialty. It may be overwhelming. So when we do an AV line of switches, we thought we're going to make this easier. We're going to make this preset. So that means if you would take this product out of the box and you would plug it in, it would just work. And that's something that has never been done in the Ethernet world. So NETGEAR is here to help. We have a couple of features added in these products that makes it easier to set up AV, including a user interface that is made for AV engineers. If you're doing audio, you have audio protocols to deal with, that's your specialty, AVB, Dante, QSys, AEX67. We've made sure that the switch is preset for those protocols, so you just tick that box and the switch takes care of everything. We take care of other things as well. If you're designing complex networks, you could use some help. We have a Pro AV design team worldwide, 24/7 available to help you designing AV networks. With lifetime warranty, lifetime chat support, and there's a lot more that we can tell you about these switches. That's going to be done by my colleague, Laurent Masia. He's the Director of Product Line Management for Managed Switches, and he's going to talk you through the M4250 line of switches.
Alright, and we're back. Awesome. We guys hope that you enjoyed that video. Again, we're going to be going into detail on really what this new Pro AV line of switches means for not only NETGEAR but also for you guys as customers, as integrators, and really anyone looking for to set up their Pro AV installation. We did have one question coming in from James. Is there a list price or MSRP available for these products?
So, Angelo, maybe I can take this one. Of course, we have, and it's now widely available in distribution. So let's just tell you that the first model, which is a 8-port switch for audio and video with PoE and fiber, it is starting right at $499. So $499 is the default model for 1G audio and video over IP. And of course, you'll see that we have a full range with additional 8 ports and 12 and 16 ports. So of course, it's going up, but not much. So starting at $499, very cost-effective new line of switches for AV.
Perfect. And just
I see James' other question about EtherCon. Sorry, I saw the other question about EtherCon connectors, things like that for live AV. So live AV is certainly one of the focuses for these new switches. So a lot of audio over IP, and I certainly know those connectors. I love those, but we don't have a model yet. But that's a good point to try to incorporate those if we see that need in the marketplace that will pay off for us. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I can bounce on that because actually we don't have the NETGEAR secure connectors as of yet, right? We don't have that, but we have a lot of good partners, manufacturers on the marketplace. They do those enclosures, and in order to facilitate that, we have a lot of hardware features on those switches, like a LED extension port, like a lot of M10s and M5s bolt threaded holes, in order to help integrate those switches in this kind of secure NETGEAR enclosure, like patch panels on the front. So you'll see that down the line. We think that these 4250 switches are really going to be widely utilized for live events because of their form factor, and then get those NETGEAR connectors on front.
Yeah, awesome. So to everyone who may be new to the show, or maybe the first time they're considering NETGEAR as a solution for Pro AV. So we have been doing Pro AV for quite some time actually. So what makes this new M4250 launch special?
Well, you want me, John, to start on that? But I'm pretty sure you'll perfect my English. Pardon my French, okay? But
You do a
well,
fantastic job.
Take it this way. Doing AV on a single switch, it's okay. A small install, a few ports. Many switches out there can do that, and the complexity is low, because at NETGEAR we solved that issue long time ago. Our AV switches come pre-configured out of the box, and they can plug Dante dongles or video encode decode units. But think about that. As soon as you have multiple switches in like a network topology, because you have several floors or several groups or several meeting rooms, you're adding complexity. Second, as soon as you have multiple types of AV, and God knows how many different types of nodes between the controllers, the management unit, the audio dongles, the video encode decode, the lighting, and so on, all these types, they require very specific settings, right? AES67 DSCPQs are not the same as for Dante. For video, IGMP is something that you need to configure between switches. And think of AVB, totally different monster. So we understood that adding plenty of different types, the complexity was raised and raised and raised again. So we had to come with engineering services at NETGEAR to help. But the vision started from there. What if all of a sudden all that would be away? What if once the switches, instead of presenting this archaic, like IT old style, the switches would show, hey, what do you want to do today? Do you want to have Dante on those ports? Do you want to have video on these other ports? Do you want to make AVB work on those uplinks? So what really pushed us real hard was, a goal to simplify video and audio over IP. NETGEAR is not meant to make things more complex. Our role is to make things easier. So we have come with a brand new way of configuring switches for AV over IP. And because we were at that, well, of course, we came with a new generation of hardware so that the switches, they look good in AV racks. So this is a combination of hardware and software, but the hardware is, probably something we can go fast today on that. But the software, you'll see, I'm very impatient to show you how different your jobs are going to be.
Perfect. Yeah.
And that's a great key into one of the comments. Sorry, Angelo, again.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But people are asking, why is it different? They know our products, of course, and they've had good success in the web management or CLI, if you want to go that way as well. And we've actually made things easier through our M43 and 4500 lines, through a lot of that too, with some things we call NETGEAR IGMP Plus, where a single command can enable a whole bunch of different things. But it's even easier with the M4250s, and Laurent will show you live later on. They'll do a screen share of the new AV user interface. And take my word for it, from an AV guy, I think I'm relatively smart, but trying to configure all the different settings, understand where they are in all the different menus and what they're called is really difficult, and you're going to forget something. So here's an easy way. We have profiles you can assign to a port or a number of ports, and it will show you right in the interface. Color coded, your own choice of colors too, and you can see right away what ports are configured for what. It's pretty slick. You'll see that. I think, Laurent, you probably show some of that in your video too, but in Laurent's video you saw a little bit of a second ago before Richard's. It really goes into some detail on the aesthetics as well, and that's something else to consider for these. Laurent talked about different holes, different threaded holes on the chassis in front and on the bottom, different mounting options, all that kind of stuff. And I think probably better than us just talking about it, maybe Angelo, you could roll Laurent's video and we could make sure people get the full intro of what the product line really looks like and what it is.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, John, you actually just pretty much took the words out of my mouth. We will be doing a live demo of the new web GUI that's on the M4250. And again, it's going to be wholly interactive, so we're going to be able to take a deep dive into that software. So yeah, as we mentioned, there was a little clip of Laurent's video as I was actually switching between the sources. We're going to go ahead and roll that right now if you guys are ready.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. For the full, I guess, this is going to be, again, everyone who's about to watch this is going to be a deep dive into really the hardware and software of the Switch. So stay tuned.
Welcome. Today we have exciting news. We're introducing an AV line of Ethernet switches. Why do we?
NETGEAR introduces a new innovative line of switches developed and engineered for Pro AV called AV Line M4250 switches. You know that NETGEAR is the leading provider of networking products that power businesses both large and small. This announcement is about the addition of an entirely new series of switches designed and built for the growing audio, video over IP, say AV over IP market. Dubbed the AV line, these products combine years of networking expertise with best practices from leading experts in the professional AV market. Codecs for transporting AV signal over a network are generally identified based on bandwidth requirements, 1G or 10G per stream. The new 4250 switches targets the widespread 1 gig codec for installers for a wide range of AV over IP applications. Coupled with a new user interface designed specifically for AV applications, the AV line switches offer the most power and value in the professional audio and video industry. Let's start with the hardware. The M4250 switches are designed for a clean integration with traditional rack-mounted AV equipment. A sleek black display panel provides port and activity status in the front, with all power and network cabling neatly organized in the back. However, when ports are desired on the front of the rack, reverse rack mounting is possible too. We even include a second pair of recessed rack mount ears that allow room for the cabling in that case. Additional options for mounting outside the rack are available with universal threaded holes located on the bottom and the front of each switch. The first switches launching as part of the AV line series range from 8 to 16 ports with a variety of PoE+, 30 watts per port, and Ultra 90 PoE++, 90 watts per port, 802.3bt options. Because in AV everything is PoE, it means that the 4250 switch truly differentiates from typical IT models with a variety of options and different power budgets, ready for the power-hungry video encoders and even the largest loudspeakers. In addition, uplink choices include 1G for audio installations or standalone video installations, as well as 10 gig uplinks for larger scale video deployments. The AV line M4250 series also includes 12-port multi-gig Ethernet and 16-port 1G, 10G fiber models for easy plug-and-play aggregation into a redundant star topology. Continuing NETGEAR unique attention to the specific needs of its AV customers, the new 4250 provides software-controlled fan adjustments, enabling the fans to be turned off when ambient temperature or power Ethernet loads are appropriate for a totally fanless operation. This powerful feature provides new opportunities for the AV line switches to be used in sound-sensitive environments such as conference rooms, recording studios, and residential installations. Now, the software. The new AV line of M4250 switches maintains the same thorough out-of-the-box functionality found on the M43 and M4500 switches for almost all AV over IP encoders and decoders. Pre-configured out of the box with NETGEAR IGMP+, the M4250 can simply be plugged in and turned on. Setup and installation time are greatly reduced, allowing the installer to focus on other parts of the project. NETGEAR has taken care of your multicast presets. NETGEAR also has enhanced the experience for AV professionals by including a new user interface designed from the ground up. Pro AV customers don't have to settle for an IT-centric interface with settings and IT-specific functionality they will never need. The new M4250 AV interface presents the common AV controls right up front with user-selectable profiles for common AV platforms, making it a snap to ensure that the settings are correct for a specific audio or video applications. The M4250 also supports more advanced configuration and a robust set of features with many different types of installations. The world-class industry-leading NETGEAR web-based IT GUI, along with the console, 10-net SSH connections, a standard out-of-band Ethernet, this is all available for other deeper setting adjustments. Additional features include static, WIP, and PIM routing, DHCP server, and PTP-v2. One of the many features designed into the new M4250 product line is full support for AVB, audio-video bridging, an industry standard for transporting content over a network. AVB is used most often when very low latency is required, such as in live performance when lip sync is critical. All of the AV line M4250 switches can be optionally licensed for AVB support. Last but not least, the service. The NETGEAR ProSafe limited lifetime hardware warranty on the M4250 series is an example of the commitment to the NETGEAR Pro AV community. This comprehensive package includes 90 days of technical support via phone and email, lifetime technical support through online chat, and lifetime next business day hardware replacement. In addition to that, all NETGEAR Pro AV customers can take advantage of free design services as they design and deploy professional audio and video solutions which require IP networking infrastructure. This dedicated Pro AV engineering services team of experts spread around the globe helps empower designers and installers of AV over IP systems through free network design assistance, training, and installation support. This is what, as an AV customer, you will find in the NETGEAR AV line M4250 switches. Well, now time to tell you to visit netgear.com/AV-over-IP. And if you want to reach out to our great Pro AV engineering services team today, just drop us an email at proavdesign@netgear.com.
All right, we're back. We're doing this live, so actually, sorry about getting that little bit in the beginning of Richard's video. To everyone here, hopefully everyone in the chat can attest to this. You guys in the Pro AV industry just know, things are always coming up live. So we appreciate you sticking with us and also answering these awesome questions. Kind of leading into that, we wanted to make sure, Jeff Moore, that we got your question asked. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of bring it up right here. You say configuration is easy. How do management options compare to something like the GS728 TPP if more advanced management is needed?
Oh, Jeff, I need to answer that question. So I think when we are going to demo and log into those switches together in a few minutes, you'll see that by yourself. I will bring the traditional legacy IT web interface that we have in our switches, like the GS728 TP, which is a great, standalone PoE smart switch, and one of these 4250 switches today, which has the legacy same good IT GUI. And then I'll take you by the hand, and you'll see the new AV UI, and you'll see that it will be night and day. So again, we are not going to show the kitchen anymore. We are not going to show the IGMP and the DSCP and all these little things like the VLANs and the priorities, or even the MDNS Bonjour multicast anymore. Instead, we will directly present the profiles that you will need on a specific job, like Dante, AVB, AES67, QSys, anything. So let me show that to you in the next couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing you'll see that we keep trying to make sure we don't forget is that the full interface is there. It's not like this whole switch is dumbed down. We have that AV interface, but everything he'll show you. The CLI is still there, the web interface is still there, so if you need all those more detailed adjustments, not a problem. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So I could go ahead and actually pull it up right now, and kind of while Laurent, if you're ready to start logging in, we could go ahead and actually show you how the management works here on the new switch.
Okay.
And while you pull that up, I'm gonna kind of double time here on the questions here. So we got another one coming in from Brandon. These look fantastic. Will larger models such as 24 port, 48 port be available in the near future?
So, as a company, we have a very strong rule at NETGEAR. We can't comment on future products. It's forbidden by law, okay? So we cannot comment if yes or no 24s or 48 ports switches will come down the line. What we can say is that it would be a very good idea.
Of course. Yeah, and just kind of being a host here, for actually, yeah, as I mentioned, we've been doing this for a few months, pretty much every week. But we love to see what ideas you guys do come up with, and that kind of goes across everywhere from NETGEAR as a brand. So we've done these Tuesday virtual event streams, and this is your best way to get your feedback directly to our directors and our product managers. So we love, regardless if you can't comment on it, like, we love to hear it. Gives us ideas, and maybe down the line you'll be able to see some of your points of feedback actually in a future product.
Let me just say, if I can, from the Pro AV side, we've talked about products, companies I've worked for years, a year ahead, 2 years ahead of time. And it's frustrating, I know, for people. Like another trade show, they're like, oh, is that product here yet? I'm like, no, sorry, not quite there yet. So it's actually comforting to know that NETGEAR, even though things may be months away or 6 months or whatever or less, that we're really good about not trying to promise things we can't deliver enough. So, but rest assured, these questions are right in line with what we're thinking. So,
Awesome.
thank you.
Cool. And
All
everyone,
right.
yeah. And Laurent, see, you pulled it up here. Everyone in the chat here, if there is something you guys want to learn more about, or if there's a part of the demo you would love to, we would love to slow down, or maybe you want to see some other part of the GUI, please let us know. Again, this is actually the first time we're doing something super interactive here on the show with the GUI. So please drop it in.
Okay, so I see Brandon understood, and I'm curious to see how these compare to the 4300. So that's fantastic. Let me start with this, Brandon, and I will address Jeff's question at the same time. What you see on my screen right now is, I shouldn't say the old style, right, John? I should say the legacy. The NETGEAR legacy. What's that? Well, this is a very good web interface for IT and for AV a little bit as well. For instance, on those typical switches so far, we got to configure the multicast, we got to configure the VLANs for the IGMP operation, and maybe the courier too. So this is the IT style, and we have renamed this GUI the IT GUI. To answer Jeff's question, that's what you got so far, right? The GS728TP, which is a smart managed pro switch at NETGEAR, is exactly like this, right? The 42 and 4300s maybe have more features, but this is the exact same IT GUI, and I believe it's good that all that remains very consistent. Now, Brandon, the 4250s that are launching, I'm connected to a 12-port multi-gig switch with the 10 gig uplinks. So this is a 12 2.5 gig plus two 10 gig uplinks, typical aggregation switch, or a video tile, video wall switch as well. So the 4250 is almost identical to the 4300s. Everything from a layer 2, layer 3 standpoint is the same. The only thing that is different from the 4300 is that we do not have stacking, because now we can scale even more without stacking, and John mentioned it with IGMP+. And compared to the 4300s, we do not have OSPF and VRRP. Those are unicast routing protocols that are used in like enterprise networks. 4300s are probably better for that. But we do have WIP, and we do have multicast PIM as well. So the multicast PIM routing for the sports mode, the dance mode, the source specific mode, everything is really, really the same as 4300s. Okay, so what's different actually is, go back to the device view, the look, right? Because these switches on the front, there's a black panel, and we display LEDs, information, that's all. All the ports are in the back. Of course, we can reverse those switches, so that's great, because you can still have the IT style with the ports in the front. So I hope that answers your question, Brandon. And Jeff, that's your world so far. So guys, are you ready for the new world?
Let's do it.
See,
Yes.
I am actually logging to my switch right now, just here, using a local IP address that the switch picks up, right? So this is the 192.168.0.132 because there's a DHCP in my network here. Now, if I log to the 192.168.0.132:8080, you will land to a different new user interface. Same switch, same IP address, just add the colon 8080. So the credentials will be the exact same. And logging in, well, if you compare this new user interface with the previous one, this is really, really different. What we have here is that, well, we have the very strict minimum information that you need for a typical AV job. And again, we don't want to replace one interface by the other. The IT interface is probably going to be used still for some settings, but for the pure AV configuration, AV settings, we are going to use now in priority this GUI. So the overview is just the switch with the ports, some details, and some CPU memory utilization. Something that is really good is the the fan mode. So you can now tell the switch, I want you to be quiet, or I want you to shut down the fans. So that's really new. But let me go to the point, Jeff. What is going to be very different for you is that you will immediately click network profiles, and if there is one thing is probably the type of AV nodes you are going to deploy for that job, okay? So we have a list of predefined video templates. These are grouped into audio, pure audio for Dante, for AES67, for QSys, and for AVB. Of course, AVB requires a license just to enable AVB, but that's now very plug and play. Just copy and paste the license here, and it's working. Now we have another group for video, and the video profile is actually going to be okay for NVXs, AMX, all type of video over IP, because it's actually a combo profile that is approved for all these video manufacturers. And then last but not the least, we have some hybrid modes, because now you have some video encode decode units that can de-embed audio and send the audio to the network using QSys, AES67, or Dante. So we could create from scratch an AV template, but let's say, Jeff, that you have a job coming. You need to pretty much cut the switch in half, and you need to do Dante on the 4 first ports, and you need to do video encode decode on the 4 next ports, okay? So let's do that together. We are going to select the audio Dante profile. We can give it a name, well, because that's going to be my Dante primary that I want to use. I will select the first 4 ports. Let's give it a color. Red is never good, right? Let's say green, better. And my customer, actually, Jeff, your customer, already got a Dante primary VLAN, in its network. So let's say this is the VLAN 20. So I'm telling the switch that my VLAN ID 20 will be my Dante. I have clicked my first 4 ports, I click save, and now the first 4 ports are green, and I can see that my Dante primary profile is right there, correctly specified with the good VLAN ID. And Jeff, you're done. So if you wanted to do that on the other side, right, using the IT legacy GUI, first of all, we need to really follow the Audinate, Dante networking guidelines, multicast, DSCP queues, strict priority. MDNS. So this is actually a cumbersome operation. Here, everything is automated. And as you can see, we did not configure anything because the profile already got everything. So I will show you the kitchen after that, if you want to see that. But for now, Jeff, you achieved your first mission. Now, we want to do video on the 4/8 ports, the four ports. After that, let's select the video profile. This time, we can select the ports 5, 6, 7, 8 real quick. Let's say that we want to do NVX, and let's say that's the new series that is just out, the NVX 360s, for instance. For a color, we can say that I have a blue, light blue. My customer wants to have a dedicated VLAN for the video so that it's not in the audio primary Dante VLAN 20, let's say 10. And now I can show you this little toggle. Either we stay layer 2, so there is absolutely no IP address whatsoever for that VLAN, but if we want, we can enable the IP settings directly on that profile. We can say, for instance, I am going to assign an IP address to that VLAN interface. So if that's a class A, we can maybe put that this way, okay? And something you probably never seen on the 4300 Brandon, you can actually enable DHCP server right there. So directly on your profile, using this IP address, the management VLAN of that VLAN, management IP address of that VLAN, you can specify your DHCP server with your DNS, and you will then assign IP addresses to your NVXs, okay? But let's not do that now. Let's stay at layer 2. We click save, and we should have now 4 green ports and 4 blue ports, because the blue stands for NVX 360s video profile on the VLAN 10. This is how we configure the 4250 switches using this specific AV user interface. So
all right, fantastic. People are drinking the Kool-Aid. Sorry, I got to tell you in the comments.
Yeah,
they're
shout out
loving
to
it.
Debbie.
So we can find a few more examples, because I'm pretty sure that today the attendants will be quite interested to learn how we are going to do when we have a hybrid install, right? With those video encode decoding units, sending Dante or sending AES67 or QSys audio simultaneously in the same or different VLAN. But right now, do you want to see the effect of this AV UI in the other interface? We can actually. If we
Absolutely.
log back to the legacy GUI, I'm still there, so I did not unlock. That's great. So let's go to the switching. Let's go to the VLAN. See, my switch created VLANs. In fact, using the AV UI, we are sending the commands to the switch that then are reflected in the other user interface, which is the IT GUI. So I do have my 10 NVX 360 VLAN and my VLAN 20 for Dante. Let's go to the multicast. In the configuration, IGMP is all enabled. You're going to say, well, of course, this is pre-enabled. That's easy. Yeah, but now I have the VLAN 10 and 20 that are configured with the correct settings for multicast IGMP operation. That should be the exact same for the querier. And back to the IGMP snooping, the fast leave is also enabled. What else? Well, I believe that for Dante operation, we need to go to the QoS. We need to make sure that the global mode is the trust DSCP, not the COS trust, but the DSCP trust. And we need to have the correct mapping for DSCP right there. So this is fastidious because you need to have the 6 for the 56, the 5 for the 46, and it does require time. It's prone to mistakes. So back to the system, maybe we should have bonjour enabled, and for Dante we should have PTP enabled as well. And where PTP should be enabled? Well, on the ports number 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's where, Jeff, you are going to plug your Audinate Dante dongles, right? So all that was made in the background because we don't want to expose it too much over here. Here, the role and your job moving forward would be to correctly spell out the type of device you are connecting. Last but not the least, I can log to the CLI, and if I'm logging to my console using my USB cable, you can see that each time we have done something, a new configuration file was created, and sent to the switch. So let's log to this CLI command line together. And of course, this is the same, Brandon, as the 4300s. It's exactly the same. If I want to do to show the running configuration, I just enter show run. And now you will see the text configuration file that the AVUI has put together for us. The VLAN's name, the correct DSCP mapping for the Dante Audinate queues, the correct carrier interval, interface configuration. For the first ones, we include those interfaces into the VLAN 20, and we have PTP enabled. For the 5, 6, 7, 8, we just have the correct VLAN name. Okay? So this is the new world. And this really, John, maybe you can comment for the past year, how often have we dreamed about something like that, right?
Yeah, it's been long in coming, and it's just the reaction you get from people. It's like, great, it's so much easier to understand, but also easier to implement in general. So it makes perfect sense. What I really noted this time, because I haven't seen you do the live demo as much, what I noted is that really it's not just simplified, but it's still complicated because you're able to do DHCP serving and IP address stuff right there. So really, really thoughtful in bringing out what are they going to try to do, and then what else along with that at the same time. What are the important things? And we'll take care of everything else. And you've really done a great job, you and the user experience team, on doing that. Going to get great response from everybody. And I think the key thing, like I said earlier, that I'm aware of is that everything is still there for those network and IT people that need to go in and set up special settings for whatever network you're on. That's still available to you. So if there are other QoS or other things, and I'm, again, not the IT guy, but those settings are still available to you to set up. So fantastic job.
Awesome.
Thank you, John. So maybe I have a quick last one, because I try to read all the comments in the chat on the YouTube, but that's hard. It goes fast. But if I was watching this show, I would say, okay, well, that's good, but it's a single switch, guys. So still not that easy on my XYZ current Ethernet switch. And I would be right. So let me log to the other guy on the side. I have a second switch live. The IP address is the 120. This is actually a PWE switch, and I am going to log to the other switch simultaneously. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have those two fiber ports on the side, and I want to link this other switch to my first switch that we just configured. Okay? Because traditionally this is hard. Right? How to configure the interconnect, the switch-to-switch connection, right? And so let me show you how we should do it moving forward. This time, my network profiles are set. Maybe just for the pleasure, we could go back to the edit for this one and put a DHCP server on, okay? Just for the pleasure, because Brandon was speaking of not DHCP client, static IP. I want it to be 10.30.0.100, for instance. And this is going to be class A, obviously. I'm old, sorry, I still speak of classes. And then I activate my DHCP server. I actually want my VLAN here to act as a router, okay? So, and I do have another DNS server on my network, so I'm gonna use this for DNSs.
Of course, you have quite the home network.
Well, for this one, you're right.
I love it.
Okay, so I save it, and now I have a DHCP operation. So the blue ports are for the NVXs, and the NVXs will get a 1030 IP address. Okay, so for the link aggregation, we are going to create a link. We are going to create a lag. Okay, so let's aggregate the two fiber ports on the right hand side. This is going to be my lag. And well, I do have choice. So let's say this is the lag number 1. That's the only one I'm going to do anyway. And I will activate this slide button, the trunk port. Just by doing that, I am instructing the switch to take all the VLANs with all the specified IGMP, QoS, DSCP, all the rules that belong to each VLAN, and carry everything through this lag. So I can still say that, you know, my configured profile, which is the native, the PVID, if you wish, could be the VLAN 1, it could be anything else. But just adding this little button is going to simplify your jobs, because you just trunk everything through that lag. So now I save, and I have my lag done there. So now I'm going to the other switch. Oops, sorry. Let's go to the link aggregation as well. Of course, you need to create a lag for those two ports. Let's do that quickly for that switch on that side. My lag, and I will also want it to be a trunk port. This is going to be my lag number 1, and I have my management VLAN for the primary. I'm saving it, and now I have my lag configured on this switch. I will probably have to do some Dante on that switch. That's because I want to do it. Let's go quickly. Select maybe all the ports, all the 6 or 7, 8 first ports using Dante. I will try to use the same color. And well, remember my audio was the VLAN 20. That's my Dante primary. And I'm done, because I just configured quickly 8 other ports for Dante. And my trunk will carry correctly my Dante, my green Dante, from the left switch to the right switch.
I think people are understanding that. Devin and Debbie and Brandon, sorry, are applauding. So people understand how much time that must have saved. That's just crazy. In like 30 seconds, you just built the trunk, built the lag. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, well, we configured a few things. Are you up for a last one?
I think we can do it.
So
and then
let's look at.
Oh, sorry. And then just to
timing, Angela. I think we're doing the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do one more, and then everyone else in the chat, if there is something that we would love to, or you would love to hear from us, or if there's something that you even want us to go into the GUI, this is your last call. So Laurent, let's let it rip.
Okay. So let me specify that for you now. See, I have 2 ports that are available on my switch here. So guys, you got 2 new video devices, but those 2 new video devices, they can de-embed audio. So take the video audio and send it to the network using, this time, let's say QSys, okay? So you need to set up a hybrid port. That's the worst case that can happen to you, I'm afraid, right? How to set up a port to do 2 things at the same time. And let's complexify it, because of course, if they were doing the de-embed using the same VLAN, I will use this hybrid profile, video with QSys audio, so that, you know, the ports will belong to a QSys audio packets with all the right configuration plus video packets. But let's say that your devices today, they not only de-embed audio, but they also tag it separately. So they add a VLAN tag so that the QSys goes to another VLAN. How are you going to do it? I can tell you on the legacy IT interface, that's, you know, mission impossible almost, because it really requires strong networking capabilities. So let's do that together. First, for the ports 9 and 10, we need to have a video profile on it. You agree? Because at the beginning, you still need to connect video encode decode units. So I will select the video profile, select my port 9 and 10. Well, my video usually is blue. And I know that I have a I know I have a VLAN for video in my network. That's the VLAN 10. And let's say this time those are QSys encode decode. Okay. Save. So I have two blue ports. But now, please listen to me, because I don't want to lose you. At this time, I only have video on these two ports. Now I know that I also need to do audio QSys, because those devices, they will de-embed audio and send it to a dedicated QSys audio VLAN. So I will select the audio QSys profile, and I am going to give it a name, QSys audio. This time, this is another VLAN that the customer has for QSys, maybe the VLAN 100. The color should be like yellow. And I'm not going to select the port clicking once only. I will click a second time to see that little T, which means trunk, right? Because it's all those ports 9 and 10, they already belong to the video VLAN. But here, for that profile, I am instructing the switch that this VLAN ID 100, it's a trunk, because the packets out of the video units, they will be tagged already by the VLAN 100, because that's how those encode decode units are configured. So by clicking twice, I see that little T on top. I save it. And now we have put together trunk ports, because the blue native video VLAN is the VLAN 10, and the QSys audio VLAN is added on top using the T for trunk. So we just achieved collaboratively, I hope, the most difficult use case in the AV world. You cannot find something more difficult than that. And still, with the good American English, John would say, see, that was a snap, right?
That's it, exactly. Easy for you.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laurent. Again, I think this really sets the precedent for what we could show here on the show. So everyone here who's in the chat, like we got a good number of you guys. If you guys did like this, I will say this. Please give it a like, and I do want to see your guys' comments, because that's going to help us understand what you guys value here on the show. If this is something you found helpful, please give it a like. Please drop us a comment, and maybe in the near future, Laurent and John, if this is something that the viewers want, perhaps we could do a couple more tutorials, show really exactly how this new GUI works, because it really is a game changer. Like we're just seeing all these comments coming in from Jeff and David and Devi. There's a good amount of excitement here.
I know we're up against the 1 hour mark here. Who knew? It was flying right by. So
yeah,
we kind of wrap this thing up somehow. Woo. This is fun.
Wow. Yeah, we didn't even get to show everything that we wanted. I know we had a couple slides here that we wanted to bring up, but I really do think that the main value driver here was showing off this GUI. Laurent, thank you again for giving us that tour. Brandon, will this be recorded and be viewable later? Yeah, well, actually, it's pretty much going to stay up here on the YouTube channel, just like like right after this event ends, just give it a couple refreshes, and it should just be the same link. If you want to share this out, we would love and appreciate that, and you could view it pretty much forever.
And of course, you can find more information on the 4250s at netgear.com/M4250. That's
Perfect. You know, where can everyone find more information? That's a great question. Thank you, John. We have a couple landing pages here. So, John, as you mentioned, netgear.com/landing/AV line. I believe that is one that I put into the description. Go ahead and check this out. There, you could really get all the information you need about the M4250 series. There was one question. There was one question that I do remember. This might be a kind of a hard question here, but I think if I go back up a little bit, is this exclusive for the M4250 series, this web GUI, or will it get pushed out to the M4300 and M4500 as well?
That's a great question. So let me go back fast. I mean, as a public company, NETGEAR cannot comment on the future nor any future product introduction or future enhancements. But I agree with you, having this AV user interface ported, brought to the 43, 4500s, other great AV switches we have would be a very great idea.
Thank you for
Stay tuned to our NETGEAR YouTube channel, of course, netgear.com, and we talked about the 4250 landing page, Angelo, but also there's our general Pro AV landing page as well.
Perfect.
So it's netgear.com/Pro AV. So either one of those, you'll keep abreast on what we're doing.
Awesome. Great. Oh, and there was one more thing. I know we are a little bit over time here, but I think we did want to mention this. We do have the Pro AV Design Services team available to reach out to. I think we did have an email for that one. If anyone in the chat is interested in their newest AV installation, can you guys give a little rundown on that?
You got a slide or so on that too. We have a Pro AV Design Engineering Services that Laurent heads up, and he manages all that channel to start designing all these systems, because network systems are not as easy as you might think, and we want to make sure that when you use our switches, you have them used in the proper way and you have enough horsepower for that. It's really easy. You can start with just a email to proavdesign@netgear.com. But you can see on screen, we handle a lot of these requests. We talk about the before show. I'm such in a live mode right now. Before installation, help counsel you and design that system, and we'll create drawings for you. And these guys know AV and they know IT, so they know both worlds of what you're going through. And since they've done a bunch of designs before, they probably come across a job like yours and can help caution you with things that they've come across before. But they'll also work with you throughout the installation as well. If you have some issue on site, this team is spread across the world from California to China, and we have somebody who's pretty close to your time zone. So as Laurent certainly knows, heading this group up, there are questions over weekends and there are things that happen. So this team is available to you throughout installation and then afterwards as well. And since Laurent's on that team, and we have some engineering people on that team as well, they all hear about the problems you're facing or suggestions that you have, so all those can get worked back into future revisions. So it's a really powerful resource for just the Pro AV community.
Awesome.
Absolutely correct. Thank you, John. And I want to profit from that occasion to really thank all the proud members. I'm a member myself, but really we have a dream team at NETGEAR. And I mean, as a conclusion on the product management side, I would tell you all that, hardware and software, that's not the point. Hardware and software, we try to differentiate at NETGEAR. We try to do our best and see the software is getting even better days after days. But hardware and software is not the point. For AV, you need assistance, you need support and services. And we got it, because it's not that simple. Real-world installations, interoperability issues, large interconnect. There's many things, wiring, fiber, copper, all that, can lead to serious issues. And you probably got issues in the past. You may know that IT vendors supporting AV guys and customers or installers or consultants, that's, not easy. So we have a dream team at NETGEAR. John said it. All these great engineers either come from the pre-sales or the tech support organization. They were all deeply involved into a lot of projects, and maybe sometimes difficult ones, I can tell you, in the previous years. And now they are grouped together into a dedicated team. And each time you will join, and each time you will reach out to us, proavdesign@netgear.com, you will have one contact to deal with, one person in charge, from the pre-sales design to the configuration to the troubleshooting afterwards. So I believe that the ProAV engineering services team and the ProAV design team is the main reason why you should really be able to trust NETGEAR for your AV jobs moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Laurent. Thank you, John. I really appreciate you guys' help here on the show, answering everyone's questions here. And thank you to everyone in the chat, because again, we're seeing all these great comments, and these comments are what really keep us going, keeps us doing these shows every week. So again, if you like the show, please just give us a like. That's going to help us drive more eyes and drive more viewers to the show, because hopefully this is something you guys love and keep coming back here. But before I close off, John, Laurent, is there anything else that you guys wanted to mention here before we sign off?
Thank you to you, Angelo, as well, because you're the awesome host and you help us move along and keep everything coordinated, and that's a huge role. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. No, I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you, Laurent, and especially over there in Paris. I hope that you have a great evening. Go get some dinner. We're going to go grab lunch. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody here in the chat. Again, we got a tech support stream on Friday, so if we did see some tech support questions coming in, so please remember, 12 o'clock Pacific time, that's when we start the tech support stream. Please drop your questions in. You got questions about your network, you're looking to upgrade, that's where we'll be able to help you out one-on-one on our virtual hotline. But besides that, we got our next Tuesday virtual event, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific time. Stay tuned, and we got a lot more to show you guys. So thank you, everyone, again, and we hope to see you guys next time.
Take care.